Live from the East Lansing Underground, this is 88.9 bringing you The Basement, and I am your host, Liv.
And I am Griffin.
And I am Anna. You do not know who I am. So, for context, I am also known as DJ Wagon Train. I am one of the hosts of the Hours of Power, which is the show that comes on right after The Basement. It deals with everything hardcore and metal. It goes until 2 a.m. I'm so tired, but I'm so excited to be here on The Basement because we have the wonderful, illustrious Drop Rate here with us.
Would you guys take a second to introduce yourselves for the listeners tonight?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Jacob Weston.
My name's Luke LaFountain.
I'm Nathan Iverson.
Joshua Fitzgerald.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in the studio. I think there is no explanation but to listen. So, can we hear Recalibrate?
Sure.
Once again, you're listening to Drop Rate, and that song was Recalibrate. Woo! Where are you from, Drop Rate?
From Lansing.
Lansing?
Yeah.
All of you are?
Yep.
Welcome home.
Glad to be here.
I think that's actually something super notable about this show tonight. So obviously The Basement is dedicated to Michigan local music and trying to bring recognition to the bands that are in the places we live, which is awesome when we can get as close to home as Lansing. But we're particularly lucky because Lansing has an amazing, amazing hardcore scene right now. But it's not always been the case. We were talking about this earlier as you guys were loading in. For a long time, you guys were the only hardcore band in the area.
Well, not
go ahead.
us, but like
Bands that
our
we've
old
been in.
bands.
Okay.
You know, like 20 years ago, there was nothing. You know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Nothing.
Yeah.
These guys have been around the block a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think if it's helpful to our listeners, because while Impact really tries to be a platform for maybe music that's a little bit off the beaten path, outside the top 40, we've got plenty of hardcore listeners if you're a fan of the Hours, but it's probably also new to a bunch of people. So, Anna, would you mind kind of like laying the groundwork, giving us some context on the world of hardcore and where Drop Rate fits into that.
I'll try my best, and if I like mischaracterize your band in any way, shape, or form, feel free to say like you're wrong. But essentially,
this will be fun.
essentially, hardcore is like it stems from punk, but it's just like more overtly aggressive. I feel like that's the best way to put it. And like a lot of different genres kind of derive from hardcore. So if you've heard the suffix core on a genre before, that means that it's in some way influenced by hardcore. So for example, like metalcore or what have you. But I think the best like way to describe Drop Rate, like in particular, if we're getting super specific, is melodic hardcore. Facts, fact or cap?
Interesting.
We'll take it.
I'll take it, but interesting.
What would you say?
Non-descriptor.
Yeah, what do we say?
Yeah, I don't even know what we say. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's definitely melodic leaning. There, you can split hairs a lot when you start,
Absolutely,
putting on those. But yeah, hardcore, melodic, hardcore. We'll take it.
I think we're very punk influenced instead of like the more metal, side of things for sure.
I guess that kind of goes into then, like, who are your influences then? Like, who do you, like, take from even, like, I guess hardcore and metal and then outside of those as well, if there are any?
So, yeah, the initial, like, concept of this project was to kind of just make fun hardcore that, like, we wanted to play and have fun with, not try to be too self-serious. Snapcase is a big one for, I think, most of us. And then, things like Bane, Comeback Kid, TUI, Quicksand. Yeah. Anything Walter Streifels has been a part of, Gorilla Biscuits, all that stuff is a big influence on what we do.
I can definitely hear Snapcase in your music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to...
Intentionally. No, yeah, for sure.
Not, like,
and then...
in a plagiarism way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely, like, what we were trying to do is something along those lines, which they're probably melodic hardcore, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like Turnstile, obviously they're undeniable at what they do, and yeah, and then friends bands, across Michigan, just always taking influence from friends,
Anna, I wanted to ask, is it possible for a band like Drop Rate to be too hardcore? Is there no line that could be passed when it comes to this genre?
I think it really depends on the person. I think like hardcore is one of those tricky things because it's like not just the music but also the culture in and of itself, and I think there's kind of an interesting phenomenon happening in music right now where some bands are getting like to the point where they're kind of like reaching out into mainstream metal, but then you have people who aren't exactly like adjusted to like the hardcore culture finding these bands, and there's kind of a line of like, do we invite these people in almost? Like, is there such a thing as too hardcore? I think it's a question of like who considers something too hardcore, and if those people are hardcore, and should we accept them?
Because
Is this talking about like bands, fans, behaviors in general?
Yeah, like society.
A bunch of normies showing up and like seeing people beating the hell out of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But not understanding it
Not
and going
understanding
too
the
far.
etiquette.
Yeah.
And not understanding the ethics and whatnot, and like, hey, someone fell down, pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not trying to like, beat each other. Like,
Yeah.
Actually, that's
like
a
actually
really...
beat each other. Like it's fun, and like someone coming in from like the outside, quote unquote, seeing that and being like, oh, you can just like mess people up. And it's like, that's not what it is.
I phrased it as like there's a level of like informed consent when it comes to moshing and just the violence at heart.
It's a great way to put that.
And it's like you kind of accept the risk going into it, but I feel like maybe some people aren't fully aware of the risk, or again, there's like a lot of social connotations, but like I don't know. I just always think of the question like, how do you like let new people in while also like preserving the culture at the same time?
Right, yeah, it's definitely a very cultural thing, right? Like you get it, the more you go, you understand it, and it starts to click and make sense. Like the first time you see it, it's like these kids are just swinging and it's crazy, but it's really not. It's pretty controlled most of the time, and Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that is actually really good to touch on in this context because we have listeners that are maybe outside of those who would normally come across something like hardcore. And I do think it's very confusing to watch from the outside, you know?
I would imagine, yeah.
For sure.
Why is it okay to just like punch people in this context, which isn't what it is.
Right. But if you don't understand the dancing and the intricacies of what's going on, it looks like you're just swinging and hitting people, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But how would you guys characterize like what is at the core of this kind of collective of folks who come together and are like, okay, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to let stuff out, but ... Like, what is the hardcore
It's therapy.
culture?
Like, this is like, you know, this is a place for people that don't feel a part of things. And they've come and find these other people, you know, misfits and losers and whatnot, and it just makes sense to everybody, and you're there on the same page, and you can just let your frustrations out with each other, not on each other, with each other, and at the end of the night, everyone kind of has that release, and it's like it's healthy, I think. But from the outsider, they just see violence, perhaps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can I ask something?
Sure.
As an outsider,
Right.
Where do I go in this community in Lansing to maybe get my feet wet to warm up to this culture? You know, where do I start?
Right now, we have the Jolly Llama on the south side. It's a house.
Okay.
We've played there once. We've only played a handful of shows, so, you know. But, and then Monty House, right up the street here, does a lot of hardcore as well. I'm sure there's some others. I think the Goblin Zone does some, you know, heavier leaning stuff. I think it mostly leans on, like, emo and that kind of stuff. But those shows, like the DIY, the DIY community kind of all works together, and, you know.
Yeah, I think a house show is like the best way to get introduced to the culture.
Yeah.
Because those people will be like already close knit, and they'll recognize that you're not like a regular, and you'll probably be like approached and like welcomed in.
Okay.
And like instead of going to see like a larger band at a huge venue, and you're just like a drop in the ocean, you know?
Right.
I would recommend a house show.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I would like. I've been going to shows forever, and I would still rather go to a house show than go see someone at like a large venue. Like, it's just better.
Well, I'm glad to know that there are a lot of places I can go within the community, just like your song.
Good segue.
A place to go. I want to know before we get into the song, what's the meaning of this title?
Is exactly that. It's about spaces for like hardcore and, you know, DIY music, and like specifically like places like Edgemen and Reware and like businesses that open up their place, you know, for stuff like this to happen, because it takes a lot of risk to like open up your business to let music just happen and random people come in. So it's just kind of appreciation song, and like it meant a lot to me growing up. So it's like important, you know, it's important to the culture and important to everything. So,
well, thank you. Once again, this is Drop Rate.
I wish I didn't have to fear all a place to go. A place to go.
That guitar was so good. Oh my gosh, it was What do you call that technique?
Strumming. No, I use a phase shifter for like the swooshy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We got into some textures a little bit, so I picked up a phase pedal and I grabbed a super chorus also. So we just, I don't know, it elevates certain parts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we did it on the demo for that song,
Maybe
in post, and we were like, well, that was like part of the song now, so I had to go buy a pedal. So, yeah, basically.
I like that, but now there's a whole new world that's unlocked.
It's another palette to paint with musically, and I use it quite a bit, even on stuff that originally we didn't record with it. Like now, like a lot of choruses, I'll throw it on, or like more like interlude sections that move from one to the next. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. I love the phrasing that you use there, another palette to paint with.
Yeah, like that's all I think about. Pretty much.
that phrase specifically.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, have any of you tried to play like other kinds of music? Are you all hardcore through and through, or are there other bands that you've been in, other projects that maybe add some unexpected influence in?
I'm traditionally in pop punk bands and punk bands and that kind of stuff. But like I just translate that straight into hardcore. Just go a little harder.
Yeah, like Josh comes from like a little bit different of a setup. Yeah. And like he doesn't use like the traditional like drumming tropes that a lot of hardcore bands use. Like he doesn't speak that language necessarily. And he comes up with these like cool like jazzy little things instead that I really like a lot.
Yeah, it kind of helps inform our sound, just him coming from outside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. Josh is like, he carries a lot of weight in the band, for sure.
Yep. And then I play guitar and sing in a band called Silktail. So, and we play around here every once in a while. And that's like more like alt-rock, shoegazy influence stuff. So.
I've played in like pop punk type bands, emo bands. I'm not really sure what you'd call some of them. But I've also, played with bands who have done shoegazy stuff. I've done stuff with bands who've played more like folk music. All sorts of stuff.
Okay, so yeah, a good bit of range there.
Yeah.
I've done like some crossover thrash type stuff and like we didn't know it was called post-hardcore back then, but it was technically, we called it like emo metal. We were just trying to rip off Converge in like the late 90s.
Pre-post-hardcore.
Right, we didn't, the term didn't exist quite, so predominantly, but yeah, like stuff like that. I guess all over the place, yeah. Always independent like genres though.
Yeah, I would actually say that like none of us are like hardcore through and through. Like it's not our one thing in life. I
actually like power pop like most.
Yeah,
like no joke, Fountains of Wayne is one of my favorite bands.
Yeah,
power pop.
Yeah,
elaborate. Tell me about it.
It's like high energy like rock and roll. That's like super poppy. Like influenced probably like by the Beatles and like the Byrds, but like jacked up with electricity and stuff.
Yeah, imagine like Beatles with like distortion or something.
Yeah, like Matthew Sweet is like one of my favorites. He was like really big in the 90s for his audience. He was big in the 90s, but like he's still playing and stuff. So I don't know.
I agree. I think we still need to start that power pop band.
You are totally right.
So for context, like Fountains of Wayne did the song Stacy's Mom.
That's their worst. It's their worst song.
Yeah,
and it's a perfect pop song, but it's their worst song, and like they just go up from there. Like I'm serious, check them out. They're underappreciated.
Unlocking some real secrets tonight.
Yeah, check out the song Denise, and it's probably one of the most well written songs ever. Yeah.
Is that Stacy's mom? Is her name Denise?
It might be. I don't know.
Well, speaking of art, we did talk a little bit about the album art for your EP, Recalibrate, and just how, like, weirdly it connects with my world. For context, I'm from Wisconsin. The person who did the art is named Landon. He's also from Wisconsin, but he also, like, has lived in Lansing and is big in the Lansing scene. But it's, like, this globe made of bricks, and the continents are explosions coming out of the bricks, but they're still continent shaped. I just want to know, like, what does that represent?
Frustration with the world, I guess. I just saw like Landon's design and I was like, yeah, can we use that? And because like I grew up just watching his bands around here and then just becoming friends with him and stuff, so I was just like, hey, and he was like, yeah, I don't care, and then I just put the layout together with his art.
It just seems like it fits with the whole recalibrate concept, though. Like it's more of like serendipitous than anything. It wasn't really intentional, I don't think.
Yeah,
Like
it just felt right when I saw it, and then I pitched it to them and they were like, yeah.
Like the ultimate reset.
When it
almost.
when it comes together that easy, like
Yeah.
but yeah, if it comes together easy, you just don't fight it. You just let it happen. And
That's how the band operates. Like the path of like least resistance. We just don't fight about things, and like we just like we'll see if it works. Okay, it works. It's fine.
Wouldn't
And,
it be beautiful if the world in general worked that way?
it would be nice. It would.
There's a lot of like leaving the egos at the door, and I
Yeah.
think people have a hard time with that. Like within this group, which seems to be really easy. So
That's good.
yeah.
Well, going back to art, and within your group, who is the artist? And specifically for your graphic designs, you guys have really cool merch of that. I think, what is it, like a witch or the
hooded mosher guy.
the hooded mosher.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
city.
He's got a lot of different. Yeah, I drew that.
That's sick.
I did like the layout for the EP, but like Landon did the globe, and then I just did the put the words around it and stuff, and then the shirt, same thing. Just took the cover art and kind of made it into a shirt. So it's mostly me, and then that little piece from Landon. But yeah, so far, and then we have some new stuff, new designs that haven't come out yet that have been by like friends and other people from around here. So
Yeah, we got some shorts that were made by my friend Chris Moek. Yeah, those should be out soon.
The Mimic.
Yeah, the Mimic is like a boombox with like teeth and stuff. And yeah, we posted it earlier as like a poster today, but we're gonna have it on some merch soon. So
We got them on stickers too, right?
oh yeah, we got stickers too. Yeah.
Sick. You guys really know how to create this world and brand for your band. It's like a little cheap fantasy.
really sewed that together. But
So that was bad.
Every night you just gag me with those like transitions. It's crazy.
Thank you, Anna.
I'm like on the
was great.
floor all the time.
Thank you. Try to keep this smooth as possible.
Cheap fantasy. That's me, right?
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.